Most people have never heard of the Bal des Ardents, or as it became known, the Ball of the Burning Men. But on a winter night in 1393, inside the glittering halls of the French court, a single careless mistake turned a masquerade into a nightmare. Flames tore through the room, men screamed, and the King of France barely escaped with his life. What was meant to be a moment of celebration became one of the most haunting disasters in royal history. More than just a tragedy, it was a symbol, a burning reminder of a monarchy in decline. It revealed the madness of King Charles VI, the fragility of his reign, and the growing dysfunction at the heart of the French court. This is the story of the Ball of the Burning Men, a dance with death that exposed a kingdom already falling apart. Charles VI was only 11 years old when his father, King Charles V, died in 1380. As he was still a minor, a regency was established to govern France until he reached maturity. This council included several nobles, most notably his three powerful uncles, Philip the Bold, Duke of Burgundy, Louis, Duke of Anjou, and John, Duke of Berry. Though nominally entrusted with safeguarding the realm for their young nephew, these men quickly revealed ambitions of their own. What should have been a united effort to preserve royal authority soon became a scramble for influence and enrichment. After Louis's death in 1384, Philip and John tightened their grip on power. Philip expanded his holdings and influence, while John lavished royal funds on art and luxury. Under their stewardship, the kingdom suffered years of financial mismanagement and self-serving rule. When Charles assumed full royal authority in 1388 at age 20, he inherited a court bloated with greed and a treasury in disarray. Intent on restoring dignity to the crown, Charles began his reign with promising reforms that earned him the popular moniker Charles the Beloved. He reinstated the marmosets, a group of skilled administrators who'd previously served his father. These advisors aimed to modernise royal governance, emphasising efficiency, rational decision-making, and responsiveness to the kingdom's needs. On the international front, Charles pursued peace with England amid the ongoing 100 Years' War. Though a lasting settlement proved elusive, optimism about France's future briefly returned. Yet, this hopeful beginning unravelled in Charles's mid-20s as he began suffering from bouts of mental illness, episodes that grew more severe and frequent over time. His decline marked a tragic reversal, not only for his reign, but for the stability of the monarchy itself. Historians have proposed various causes for his condition, including hereditary mental illness passed down from his mother, Joanna of Bourbon. Other theories point to bipolar disorder or typhus. Whatever the cause, the man once hailed as a reformer came to be known with a mix of sorrow and fear as Charles the Mad. The first unmistakable sign of his collapse came in 1392 during a politically fraught campaign to capture Pierre de Reims, who had attempted to assassinate the king's trusted advisor, Olivier de Clisson. Though Clisson survived, Charles became obsessed with avenging the attack, and when John V, Duke of Brittany, refused to surrender the Crayon, Charles launched a military expedition. Even before the army departed, those close to him observed troubling changes, erratic speech, feverish behaviour, and a simmering paranoia. On July 1st, 1392, the royal forces set out. Progress was slow, and the oppressive heat and delays only intensified the king's unease. Then, one morning, as the royal party made its way through a forest near Le Mans, a ragged leper suddenly appeared, grabbing the king's horse. "Ride no further, noble king," he cried. "Turn back, you are betrayed." Though driven off, the man trailed the column for nearly half an hour, repeating his chilling warning. The encounter cast an ominous pall over the march. Later that day, as the company emerged from the woods, a page accidentally dropped a lance which clanged against a steel helmet. The sharp noise triggered something in Charles. Shouting, "Forward against the traitors, they wish to deliver me to the enemy," he drew his sword and attacked his own men. In the ensuing chaos, he killed several knights before being subdued. Once restrained, Charles collapsed into a stupor, followed by a coma. He was transported to the castle of Creil in hopes that quiet surroundings might restore his mind. Instead, this episode marked the beginning of a long, devastating descent into madness, one that would fracture the French court and weaken the monarchy for decades. Just months later, on January 28, 1393, the court gathered at the Hôtel Saint-Paul for a lavish masquerade ball celebrating the third marriage of Catherine de Fastavarine, a lady-in-waiting. Though the event marked a social occasion, it was also meant to distract the increasingly unstable king. Isabeau of Bavaria, Charles's wife, had long tried to ease his suffering with elaborate entertainments, exotic attire, and festive diversions. Custom dictated that a widow's remarriage be celebrated with a charivari, a boisterous mock ceremony filled with satirical music, bawdy costumes, and a chaotic merriment. That night a performance was devised by Hugues du Gazet, a notorious courtier with a reputation for cruelty and spectacle. He and 5 other young noblemen, including Charles himself, would dance dressed as wood savages, mythic wild men of the forest. Their costumes were macabre and dangerously flammable, linen soaked in resin and covered with flax to mimic shaggy hair, with matching masks that completely concealed their faces. Some accounts claim the dancers were even linked by chains. Few in attendance realised that their monarch was among the performers. Because of the extreme flammability of the costumes, strict orders had to be given. No torches were to be lit in the hall during the dance. Charles's brother, however, Louis, Duke of Orleans, arrived late, accompanied by Philip de Bar. Both were reportedly drunk and both carried lit torches. One version of events suggests that Orleans raised his torch to better identify one of the dancers, and in doing so ignited the leg of the unfortunate man. What followed was a nightmare. In an instant, flame leapt from one dancer to the next. The resin-drenched flax ignited like dry kindling, engulfing the men in a wall of fire. Screams of amusement turned to horror. The dancers shrieked in agony as flames consumed their bodies, their frantic movements only fanning the inferno. Panicked guests surged forward, some burning themselves as they tried in vain to tear the costumes off the doomed men. Isabeau, watching in horror, fainted, aware that her husband was among the burning figures. But fate intervened. Charles, standing slightly apart from the others, had been near his young aunt, Jeanne, Duchess of Berry. Thinking quickly, the 15-year-old threw her heavy skirts over the king, shielding him from the flying sparks, and most certainly saving his life. The chaos was so total, so visceral, that it burnt itself into the chronicles of the age. The monk of Saint-Denis described it in rare, gruesome detail. 4 men were burned alive. Their flaming genitals dropped to the floor, releasing a stream of blood. Only 2 of the 6 survived. One was the king, the other, Sieur de Nantouillet, saved himself by hurling his flaming body into a nearby vat of wine. Others died more slowly. Yvan de Foix and Rameuil of Bottier lingered for nearly 2 days in unimaginable pain. Hugues de Gressy, the instigator, survived the longest, using his final hours to spit curses at both the living and the dead. The tragedy, soon dubbed the Bal des Ardents, or the Ball of the Burning Men, became a symbol of a court consumed by extravagance and ruled by a man unfit to govern. Charles's mental breaks became more frequent and more severe, and by the end of the 1390s, he was king in name only, a ceremonial figure increasingly sidelined and forgotten. His incapacitation left a power vacuum that contributed to the slow disintegration of the Valois dynasty and the chaos that would soon engulf France. Much like the flames that had engulfed those noblemen on that fateful winter's night